am so glad that you're here. Today I want to talk about people noticing. People notice our words, people notice our actions, people notice our facial expressions, people notice. And what do we want them to notice? Do we want them to notice Jesus shining through us, or do we want them to notice that we're just depressed, discouraged, angry, out to get other people, want revenge? I don't know. There's all kinds of things out there. So twice this summer, just this summer, I had two different examples of how people noticed the way that I responded to the world around me, to the circumstances that I was put in. The first one was we were having car trouble. And it turns out that the car trouble we were having were due to a fault of another repair place. We had gone to get our oil changed, and the oil plug, I think is what they call it, they forgot to put that in. So the oil had been slowly leaking out. Well, by the time that the car told us there was a problem, there was no oil left. So we could have had major damage to our engine. Thankfully we didn't. God protected us from that. And so when I was at the place who found the problem and they were able to fix it, I had to go back to the other repair place and say, hey, look, this is what happened. And the lady that I was talking to about it, I was explaining to her that, you know, things happen. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, it was a big deal, but God protected us. I was able to talk about how amazing God was, things like that. And her response was basically that, you know, that's the right kind of response to have, because yelling and screaming is not going to get you any further. And it's not going to get the problem fixed. And you know what? Nobody really deserves to be yelled and screamed at. Well, the second example was I was at a bank and I was dealing with paperwork, and I happened to mention to the person they had to take the staples out of these big documents that we had and copy all of the documents. And I just said, you know what, because they didn't have a stapler that was big enough to staple them all back together again. And I said, you know what, I said, not having staples in these documents in the grand scheme of life is not that big of a deal. And he just kind of chuckled at me and he said, I really like your perspective. And I thought, well, really, that's just a very simple thing. So when I say these two examples, they're really very small, but they're just to get you thinking, how can we reflect Jesus? People notice our reactions. People notice if we're angry. People notice if we're not. People notice if we're understanding, if we're kind, if we're patient, if we, give a little extra time. Whatever it is, everybody has something going on right now, and everybody is just trying to deal with life the best that they can. Those of us who are dealing with it with Jesus have that extra help, that extra comfort, that peace, that joy. And it's kind of our job to share that with those around us who don't have him. And it's our job to share that with those around us who do have him, but are dealing with hard things. So I just wanted to leave you with that today. People notice. They notice our attitudes, they notice our words, they notice our facial expressions, and they notice how we react to things. So are we reacting the way that Jesus would want us to? And if not, because we all have those days when we aren't, how are we handling the aftermath? Are we apologizing? Are we asking for forgiveness? Or are we being entitled and just saying, you know what, that was my bad day, deal with it? So I just wanted to leave you with that today. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. If you would, I would love it if you would subscribe and click the bell so that you can tell or be notified when the next video is uploaded. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next week.